Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where the Brixis and Twinmotion teams will help you discover a new photorealistic design experience, and we'll show you how to create immersive 3D visualization in BricsCAD BIM. So thank you so much for joining us here today. As you might know, at our Brixis Digital Summit, we announced the incorporation of Twinmotion into the new BricsCAD V21. So you can now translate data from BricsCAD to Twinmotion in a rich and structured way by using Twinmotion's Datasmith SDK, and this way significantly accelerating your design review process. And actually, you're about to experience the BricsCAD-to-Twinmotion workflow in action today. So please send in your questions via the chat box, and we'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to our main speakers for this webinar. My colleague, Melissa Rivera, BIM product specialist at Brixis, will be joining this virtual stage together with the technical marketing specialist at Epigames, Martin Krasemann. Melissa will give a quick overview of Brixis and the BricsCAD products with a focus on our design-first BIM solution. Further, she'll showcase how to prepare your model for Twinmotion. And Martin will continue the demonstration by showcasing how to take advantage of Twinmotion's fast and easy workflow for architectural visualization. So you can create a very photorealistic scene with Twinmotion. So let's get started. Melissa, please take over.
Thanks, Arina. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm a BIM product specialist here at Brixis. Thank you for joining in today. And before we jump into our demo from BricsCAD and Twinmotion, I would just like to give you a quick introduction to Brixis and BricsCAD products, especially for those of you who don't know us yet. We're Brixis, a global provider of affordable modern CAD, BIM, mechanical design, and cloud-based common data environment products brought to market under the BricsCAD and Brixis 24/7 brands. BricsCAD is the best choice for drafters, designers, architects, and engineers. It's highly compatible with everything that you already know. It's also based on the industry standard DWG for 2D drafting, 3D modeling, mechanical design, and BIM. We leverage the power of artificial intelligence to help you work faster and more accurately. Hundreds of third-party applications run on BricsCAD to power your workflows. And let's bring more focus to our BIM product, BricsCAD BIM. It offers a modern, yet familiar building information modeling workflow that differs from all other software on the market today. Unlike conventional BIM with stop-start workflows, BricsCAD BIM enables BIM-ready modeling from the concept stage, with no design effort loss ever. But maybe most importantly, BricsCAD BIM starts in real 3D, not 2.5D like other BIM products. It's a revolutionary way to think about building design, engineering, and construction. Okay, that was my quick introduction to Brixis and BricsCAD products. Before I continue the demo, I believe Martin, the technical marketing specialist at Epigames, would also like to have a word to give you the introduction of Twinmotion. Please take over, Martin.
Thank you for the introduction, Melissa. Hi everyone, my name is Martin Krasemann. I'm Twinmotion technical marketing specialist at Epigames. So today I'm going to be presenting you in live in the project directly Twinmotion and how you can import your BricsCAD project inside our application. But first off, let me quickly introduce who we are and what do we do. So first off, Epigames. Epigames operate as two major divisions. We have the software side, where we develop both Unreal Engine and Twinmotion. And then there is the publishing side, where we created Fortnite. So most of you may have already heard about this game. But today we won't be talking about game. We'll be talking mostly about Twinmotion and real-time. And a recent survey done by CG Architects showed that lots of firms are trying to get into the real time. As you can see here, Twinmotion and Unreal are the first two software that architecture firms are experimenting with. So we clearly see that the rendering solution, the real-time rendering capabilities is something that is raising along the AEC market. So first off, what really is real time? So here's a quick comparison. The first image was created with a standard ray tracing solution. The software where you click a button, you press the render button, then you go to lunch, you come back a few hours later, and then you have your final image. And then when you receive some feedback where your client tell you, hey, can you change this color? Can you move this character away? It's time consuming. And in Twinmotion on the right, this image is not a render. It's the quality I have in my viewport while I'm navigating inside the scene on my 4K monitor. So it's really a completely different way to approach rendering. And also, this was not the major point that we wanted to push forward with Twinmotion. Our major goal was to have like a simple solution, a plug-and-play solution. Like, we wanted to step away from the tons of settings you have in other rendering software, where sometimes you just press one button, tweak one value, and the render time double or triple. In Twinmotion, the render time always stayed the same. Roughly, maybe it will take a couple of more seconds if you have a really large project. And also, mostly important, like wherever you are in the software and you know where you are, you know what you are doing with all the simple UI that we are focusing on with Twinmotion. So this is like a quick introduction to Twinmotion. Now I will let Melissa do a quick demo of BricsCAD, and then we'll dive into the live demo directly inside Twinmotion. So Melissa, take it away.
Thanks, Martin, for the introduction. We will soon be showing how quickly your CAD or BIM model can become a real-time experience and how it can be exported using the Datasmith plugin for Unreal Engine. Just one last thing before the demo, I will quickly cover the exclusive promotion we're running today for our BricsCAD users. So all customers with an active full commercial license of BricsCAD V21 Pro or higher license, that means BricsCAD Pro, BIM, Mechanical or Ultimate, can claim a free perpetual Twinmotion license until June 30th, 2021. So if you have a current BricsCAD subscription, Pro or higher, an active BricsCAD maintenance contract, or you own perpetual licenses of BricsCAD V21 Pro, BIM, Mechanical or Ultimate, you can claim a free perpetual Twinmotion license by the end of June 2021. If you don't have the latest version of BricsCAD, I think it's the perfect time to upgrade. Okay, let's jump right into the demo itself. Today I would like to point out a few things in BricsCAD BIM that you should consider or check out before you take your model to the Twinmotion. So here you can see in BricsCAD BIM I have already a model set up. And just to give you a little background onto the project itself, this used to be an existing building which got demolished, and they built some new apartment buildings here to the left, then to the right. This one right here to the furthest right, it is the original building, and it got converted into 3 nice industrial apartments. Then here in the back we can see this actually used to be a factory which got converted into some loft, and each one of them have their own garage, so they can go direct, have their own private garage from their house. And this one on the back is also the original building which got formed into apartment buildings as well. Now I thought this was a really nice example because we have used XREVs, and I know a lot of people in the AEC industry will probably also use some XREV to bring the project together. And how it actually works with Twinmotion. So here we can see on the attachment panels we have so the building A, B, building D, and the building C. And then the survey, which is just some 2D entities. So we have a little bit of everything. If you're at this stage where you say, okay, I'm ready to bring this model into Twinmotion, all you really have to do is either type export on the command line, and it will prompt you this window to give it a destination. You can also do it from the file menu. Here on the export, it will have the same action as well. You just give it the location where you would like to save it. Here I already had done it before, just so you guys don't have to wait for it. But what I decided is also to rename it. That's also possible. You don't have to do the same name as it is on BricsCAD. And what really happens is that the main model that contains all the XREFs will have the name, and then the other ones are gonna have, as you can see here, it's called object. So the Datasmith gives a specific prefix already for you, and then the name of the file plus the attachment name to it as well. And here you see those folders. That also happens automatically, where it puts all the data sets, all the assets, my apologies, the assets from each drawing will get put in there. So everything happens automatically for you the moment you click export. Now, just real quick, probably for me it was automatically there because I have done that already. But if you don't find it, you just have to scroll through our extensive list of formats that we support, and you'll be able to find the Unreal Engine as well. Okay, so let's say you already exported, and now you have a few changes. You can do that, and you did the changes, but now you don't want to export all of them. And you're wondering, how does that actually happen, because I don't get any prompt menu? Well, that's not a problem. The way it works is whatever is visible in your model space is what's going to be exported. So if I were to isolate this main building, then you can see here, this is all I have. So if I were to now export, all it's going to export is what is visible. So that's pretty much it for the exporting itself. I will bring everything back. Just in case if you guys are wondering, I just went to my toolbar here at the top. This is where I have my quick access to view my model. But you can also do it from the quad without a problem. Okay, so that's a little bit about XREFs and attachments and how to export to Twinmotion. Another aspect I would like to touch base is with the layers. So all of you that are used to working with CAD, you're very familiar with the layers. All you really have to know is that they get translated into Twinmotion. So however you organize your model in BricsCAD is going to be respected in the Datasmith, and you will be able to see them as well in the Twinmotion. Some of you who have used other type of rendering programs with BricsCAD, for example Inkscape, it's possible that you have used these materials. I will zoom in real quick, but this is not really necessary with when exporting to Twinmotion. And now we can go to the materials itself. There's a few options that you have, and maybe also you should know about them. And maybe it's easier if I were to open this XREF to show different ways of applying materials when taking your model to Twinmotion. So here is, I open one of the attachments, because whenever you want to make any edit your model, then it's best to just open separately your XREF. I will go ahead and also activate this the section plan. It has already a lot of information in the model. That's why it takes a few seconds to be active. But here we go. So let me just zoom in somewhere here, my model. Now, what you see here, the materials that were applied in this model, I tend to call it just dummy materials. They don't really have any value, any sort of data. And this is handy when you're at a stage in your project where you did your sketch, then from your sketch you have some 2D entities and you start extruding and end up having your 3D model, but there's still no BIM data. And so that's one of the possibilities that you have with BricsCAD, that you don't really have to know all the classifications of your model. You can just concentrate on the design and take it to Twinmotion and continue that cycle of your project without having to change or dismiss what you already created to start something new if it becomes a BIM model. So like I said, this is just a dummy material. What do I mean by that? If I come here to my render materials, by default in BricsCAD BIM you have some materials that you can use, and they're not really anything special. They're not really any PBR materials or any PBR shaders, and you can see that if I were to then on my command type materials, the drawing explorer will pop, and here you can see obviously I already have some materials, but if by default you're starting a new drawing and you haven't applied any materials, you're not gonna see anything yet. But if I come here to because I already applied some things, you can see the list of materials I have already used. And for example, let's say just this one, which is the one you saw on the model. If you come here, I'm just maybe gonna zoom in to give a little bit more emphasis. We have, we support things such as metallic, non-metallic. We have diffuse map, some transparency map, or cutout, and we have the bump map. But this one's, I suggest you don't really have to bother with this stuff if you're gonna bring your model to Twinmotion. So as long as it has something that is obvious, is clear, when applying your materials in Twinmotion, that should be enough. So, and that's exactly what I did here. Now, I think that you should really keep in mind that we have some selection modes in BricsCAD in general, but here in BricsCAD BIM, I will show you where they're at. Here you, on the very top, we have, we call them selection modes. And you can have all of them at the same time enabled, but here, so you have a boundary detection or prioritize the faces or the edges. Right now, if none of them are active, it means that I will be selecting solids. So you see how it highlights all those objects. It means that if I select, it's gonna select the entire solid. If I were to now enable the selection phase, now you can see that instead of blue is orange, which means it's giving priority to my to the faces. And of course, if I were to now have the edges, it's just gonna first it will recognize either the edges or the faces. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, I'm gonna zoom out, and the reason I'm telling you is because, again, if you're on the early stage where you just drawing plain solids, it's best, especially if it's on the exterior of your building, to then do the selection phase. So if I come back here to my rendered materials, and for example, I'm gonna show this materials. Here in the back, we can see, maybe I will apply to this one. So when let's try this one. If I bring it, what it does is gonna apply then just to the face and not all over my solid. Maybe to make it a little bit more clear, again, I'm just gonna here draw just a solid, planar solid. Let's just give it a height here, doesn't matter. So let's say, I know it's very random, but let's say this was a wall that you're putting into an interior wall. Again, it's just a solid. Now, if I were to change, so at first it's just a face selection, so it's only applying to that face. I put the painter icon in. I'm just gonna undo that. How about if I now enable this, so is then give priority to the solids, this is what happens. If I were to come back here and click on it, sorry, I was on the command, it was still active. So let's do this again. So here we go. It does it all around the solid. Why is this maybe not really handy on the exterior of your building? Well, if I were to do that, for example, and this solid, you see how it goes all over the solid, so not only on the exterior but also in the inside. Well, that's not really handy when you have like all those openings and windows, because then that texture is also going to reflect on the glasses that you have or any opening, and it's going to be a very dark model that you end up, so it's also not going to give that photorealistic feeling that you want to. Okay, and that's about the selection modes and applying materials, dummy materials, I like to call it. Now, let's say you've done already your first visualization. You're now on the BIM process. Well, now in V20 we have introduced 2 new buttons in the ribbon, and you can see a level of detail and the render composition materials. And this can be it can make a big difference when exporting your model to Twinmotion. So what are the render compositions? That's here on the panel. That's separate from the render materials. This actually applies BIM properties to your solids. So let's take a look. Show only compositions on this project, and I'm gonna then select a wall. So if I were to click here on this composition, you can see that if I were to apply this to any solid, it's gonna be a wall. It's gonna be labeled as a wall, and it's gonna have then these materials in it. So the bricks, the 2 types of insulation, supporting walls, and the cement. If I were to click here as well, you can see the appearance. Now this is a bit advanced, so if you want some extra information on compositions itself, you can go to our documentation. I will share a link. And if there's a request to maybe do a webinar on compositions, that's no problem. Just let us know, and we will try our best to bring something for you. So that's here you can see all the different materials are also available, and these are all by default out of the box from BricsCAD BIM. And pretty much what you need to know is that these are separate. So and we tend to call them plies. So these are all plies, right? So if you were to apply one of this to one solid, right now my render materials are off, right? So if I can see with the cut that they have already been applied. I'm gonna hide this for a second, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the render composition materials. Now, why do we separate them? Is because the more you have in your model, the heavier it gets in the performance, and you don't really have to always see both of them at the same time, that's how it was in V20. Now you can select either I want to see the level of detail without having those materials, so I can manipulate those plies, or I can then just see the render compositions without having to see it. So I'm gonna zoom in here, zoom out. So you can see that this material has now been changed. Also, we have materials on the inside as well of the slabs, of the floors. Everything has changed. So the good news about this is that that model that you used at the beginning just for visualization, you don't have to remove all the materials, those dummy materials. You can leave them just there, just fine. And when you export, remember, whatever is visible on your model space is what's going to be shown on Twinmotion. So if you turn on your render composition materials, that's what you're going to see on the Twinmotion as well. So just real quick, as you can see, if I turn it off and zoom in, those were the first materials that were used for the first visualization. And the level of details, if the difference with this is that if I turn this on and get to export it to Twinmotion, what's going to do is then, as I mentioned before, the compositions are composed of plies, and those plies are then going to be treated as separate solids in Twinmotion if you have that level of detail on. Okay, now that the level of detail is on, you can, I will show what does that actually means. So what it means that you can take your plies and edit them, which this is handy when you want to increase the level of detail of your model. So keep in mind, once again, if you have your level of detail of your render composition materials, that it makes a difference of when you take your model to Twinmotion. So if the level of detail is on, it means it probably is going to be a heavier model in Twinmotion, since they're going to be imported separately solids. Okay. That concludes my demo with BricsCAD BIM. I would now hand it over to Martin so he can do his demo with Twinmotion.
Thank you, Melissa. So now let's dive straight into Twinmotion for the live demo part of this webinar. So first thing I'm going to do is just import the file and then walk you through like the user interface and all the features that we have inside Twinmotion. So first thing first, let's start with the import tab. I will click on the import button to import my geometry inside Twinmotion. Let's click on open. I will select first my site plan, my EU Datasmith file. For this one, I'm just going to switch to the keep hierarchy option, and I will explain you that a bit later during the presentation. Let's click on OK. So here I have the site plan. So now let's import a few other Datasmith files. So we have this building over here. So we have a couple of buildings on the surrounding of our main project. This one. I have a third one over here on the right, and then we have the project itself. So now we have everything that we need to start visualizing this project directly inside Twinmotion. So right now I'm using my keyboard ZQSD to navigate inside the project, and I'm using the right click on the mouse to turn the head around. You can also find those shortcuts by going to the Help tab, Shortcut, and you can choose the language you want. Here is all the moves, shortcuts, then we have you can change the speed while navigating inside the project, and a few other helpful shortcuts when you get too used to it a lot. So first thing I want to do is maybe start to change the time of day. To do that, you can simply go to the eye menu over here on the right corner of the screen and just change the time like that. So let's switch to a nice sunset like that. And what I will do is in the localization tab, I can first precisely geolocalize my project, set up the months to really visualize the different lighting conditions around your project. And here I'm just going to change the north offset to have a nice sunset coming in front of our building. And a few tricks on the lighting, like just removing the shadow bias. So now that's done, we have a nice sunset in front of our project. First thing I want to do now is maybe start to change a few materials. Like you can see over here, we have a pretty basic asphalt, but Twinmotion comes with a library of thousands of objects and material. You can find this library on the left side of the screen, so I will click on this arrow over here to open the library. It starts with the materials, so let's straight open the materials folder. Let's start with the ground, man-made. And if you want to add a material to your project, it's just a basic drag and drop from the material from the library to your project. As simple as that. So we have applied an asphalt material on our parking lot in front of our project. Maybe we can add some grass over here. I know that we have some grass there also, so let's drag and drop the same material over here. Here, just lowering the starting ground, which is the basic geometry that you have inside the viewport when you launch Twinmotion. Let's here apply some concrete, maybe the same one over here. Also, our main building is supposed to be a brick, so let's find it in the library. Here we have the brick folder. Let's come a bit closer and drag and drop some brick. So as you can see, all those materials are really highly detailed. You can see like the normal map, the depth effect of those materials. And you can also play with all the options that you have inside the dock at the bottom of the screen. It's where you will find all the options, the tools and the settings. It's like the second main panel that you have inside Twinmotion. And here I have my material that is selected. I have a few options regarding this specific material. So first I can change, for example, the colors of my brick. I can change the reflection, so maybe those bricks are a bit wet, so they are more reflective than they should be. I can change the scale, so by default here the scale is correct, but I can just raise the scale of my brick if I want. And I have a few options in the settings where I can change like the depth effect of my brick, for example here. So let's stick with the default settings for now. Just going to switch the color of the glass with the clear glass that we have inside Twinmotion library, which is like the basic material, basic glass material. And here I'm just going to remove this this blue material. So this blue material came with the Datasmith file import, but I can also customize the material that came through the import. So here I selected my material picker. I simply click on the material I wanted to change, which is this global 6 material. And here I'm just going to, for example, switch to like a gray color, change maybe the reflection to make it like reflective, and maybe even make it a metallic material. Actually just lower a bit the reflection so we have a nice smooth reflection like that. And let's actually apply a similar material on our post and metallic part, all the railings that we have here. So we'll come to the metal folder, and maybe let's drag, yes, this brushed aluminum on this part. Here, let me maybe just change the color of it so it's a bit darker, yeah, something like that. And maybe we use the same material for the outline of my windows, like that. Start to look great. We start to have some nice material. Maybe the parking lot seems a bit like gray, like it's just a flat color, even though there is it's pretty detailed when you come close up like that. What I want to do is just add a bit more granularity to my material. So I just use my material picker, click on my asphalt material. We'll come to the more and just add a bit of grunge, just like to break a bit the repetition, to add like a texture that will blend this texture a bit better, give more realism to the materials. So my projects start to look great. Again, I can play with the time of day, see my project during different time of the day. But now what I want to do is maybe start to... Let's actually populate the parking lot. Before going in too much details about the vegetation and the characters, let's start adding some stuff in the parking lot. So first thing, inside Twinmotion, I will come to the object folder. Here we have plenty of different kind of 3D objects. We'll see that. Now I just want to start with the decals. The decals is basically like a poster, a decal that you can apply on top of multiple material at once. For example, here, if I apply this zebra crossing, it's a texture that will be placed overlaying all the material that is beneath. You can see the orange rectangle over here. So every material that is beneath here, this orange box will be affected by my decal. So maybe let's just place this one over here. I can also duplicate that by simply holding Shift on my keyboard and just duplicating like that. So now what I want to do is place some parking slot. So we'll come in my decal library, just scroll down to my parking lot over here. So let's drag the first one like that, just changing the orientation. as you can see, it's not well aligned, so I can just mouse over the rotation gizmo that you have inside Twinmotion, and I can manually rotate it. There is, as you can see here, when I rotate it, there is an angle snap of 5 degrees, but it's something that you can, of course, customize. So I will come, for example, here in the preferences, and here we have the angle snap. So I like to keep it at 5 degrees, but in this case, 5 degrees is a bit too much. So what I will do is just mouse over my my rotation gizmo over here. There is a small box that appears, and here I will just manually type the angle I want it to be rotated. So in this case, I think it's maybe around 3 degrees. Yeah, something like that. Will fit well our parking lot. So I'm going to place some other decals over this part of the project, like that. Again, going here and typing 2 degrees to align that. And a new one over here. Something like that, and maybe one also in the middle. I'm doing that pretty quickly just to give you a quick idea of how you can use the decals and how also you can use the vehicles that we have inside Twinmotion. So talking about vehicles, let's go back in the library and now enter the vehicles folder. Here we have plenty of different kinds of vehicles, from car to buses, aircraft or construction machine, construction vehicles. So today I'm going to focus on the cars. If I want to add a car to my project, it's pretty simple. It's just a basic drag and drop from the library to my viewport. It's similar for every object that we have inside Twinmotion. You just simply select the object you want inside the viewport, inside the library, sorry. There is a small thumbnail and a bigger one just on the right to give you a better look at what the object looks like. And then you simply drag and drop this object inside your viewport. You set up the rotation correctly. And for most objects, we have a different dock with different options. So in case of the vehicles, this option will be the color of the vehicles. So for example, this one, I can switch it to orange. So I can take the time to populate all my parking slots. But what I did in BricsCAD is place some basic box that I will use as dummy. So let's actually switch back to BricsCAD. So back in BricsCAD, what I will do is in my layer, I will just unhide 2 layers that I created, one for my cars, that is those boxes over here, and one for my trees. So let's now come back to the export doc. I will export back my Datasmith file. This will overwrite the existing file. And what I will do inside Twinmotion is just refresh, update the link, and everything I've already done inside Twinmotion won't be lost. I'm just updating the 3D model as I'm working on it in BricsCAD. So my file has been exported. Let's close that, come back to Twinmotion. Now if I want to update my 3D model, I will just come to the import doc, and I will just click on refresh to update basically my Datasmith file. And now as you can see, my boxes just appeared. As you can see here also, when I click on each boxes, the pivot point is correctly placed directly on each box. It's because this specific file, the side blind, if you remember correctly, when I imported that inside Twinmotion, I've chosen the option collapse. The collapse option, I've chosen the keep hierarchy option. That means that I've kept the hierarchy inside BricsCAD. Usually, when you import this window inside Twinmotion, by default is set to collapse by material. That means that, for example, if all your walls are sharing the same materials, all your wall will be collapsed as one big object. We do that to optimize the frame rate so you have a better smooth experience inside the application. But in some cases, you need to keep the hierarchy of your modeling file, of your modeling software. And in this specific example, I wanted to keep the hierarchy of my boxes to retrieve the pivot point correctly placed at the bottom of each box. Talking about hierarchy, let's actually open the scene graph on the right. Here is the scene graph. It's basically a layer system similar to Photoshop, where you can just hide and unhide different objects. So for example, here we have all the different decals that we have applied. We have our two cars, and we have all the different part of our project. Let's unhide again everything. So I'm showing you that because in my site plan over here, I've imported those objects as basically dummies. So here, if I come inside the scene graph, as you can see here, there is a tree folder. And what I can do with this tree folder is replace all those dummies by Twinmotion trees in just a couple of clicks. To do that, I will simply right-click on my tree folder. Again, it's this folder over here that contains my different tree. I will right-click on this folder, click on Replace Object. I will come to my library. Now I will enter the Vegetation and Landscape folder, tree. Which one can I use? I quite like the sandalwood tree over here. So I'm just going to drag and drop this tree in my Replace Object doc. And here what I will do is click on the Start Replace tool. This will replace all my dummy tree that came with my import, my Datasmith import. It will replace all those dummy by some Twinmotion trees. And as you can see, if I come close, those trees are affected by the wind. There is some nice subsurface effect. There is some really highly detailed vegetation asset that will also react to the season. We'll see that in a moment. So what I will do here is just select some of my tree, just maybe change the rotation, change the scale on some of them, just to bring more randomness to my project. And now I will use the same technique to replace my other boxes by some vehicles. So again, I will select one box just to easily locate my car folder. Again, my car folder is over here. What I will do here is simply right-click, click on Replace Object. It opens my Replace Object doc. And here what I will do is select one car, drag and drop it inside my box. If I click on Start Replace Now, this will replace all my box by this specific car model. But what I can also do is, again, click on Replace Object, add multiple vehicles. I'm just doing quickly drag and dropping all the cars inside my Dropbox. And here what Twinmotion will do, it will take each object and it will randomly select one object from my list, adding a random color to it, and it will replace all my previous car model by some other car models, basically. So now that's done, let's maybe just adjust the pivot, the position on some of those cars. Because the decal, since I've placed the decal directly inside Twinmotion, I wasn't sure of the exact location or where to place the boxes inside BricsCAD. So now that's done, what I can also do is just maybe select those vehicles, maybe just duplicate that in the middle over here. Just duplicate some others over here. What I can also do, for example, as you can see here, all my cars are looking at the same direction. So let's move this one over here. Let me just select randomly a couple of cars. What I will do here is open this tab at the bottom of the scene graph. Here, by default, it's the statistic panel where you have some info of like the frame rate that you have inside Twinmotion, the number of polygons of your project. But here what I want to do is switch to the transform panel. And in the rotation over the Z-axis, I'm just going to change that to 90 degrees, just to change the orientation of some of those cars. And maybe finally, as you can see here, the color Like when I duplicated the car, the color remained the same. So what I will do is just select some of the car and just change the color of a few of those randomly. Something like that. Maybe this one I can switch like to an orange and a darker one for this one. So our parking lot start to look great. So maybe it's time to talk a bit more about the vegetation. So let's maybe come around this part of our project, over our small grass band over here. I will come back to the library now and enter the vegetation and landscape folder. We'll start with the trees. To add a tree, it's same thing as when I've added a car. It's just a basic drag and drop from the library to the viewport. As you can see here, I drag and dropped the same tree, but at each time I added it to the project, Twinmotion affected a random rotation, a random scale, and a slight color variation, so just to break the repetition when you are using the same tree. Also, each tree exists in 3 different ages. When you select a tree, the first option is this age option, and when you change that to, for example, this one will be like a younger version of the tree, and this one will be an older version, the adult version of the tree. As you can see, it's not just a basic scale, it's really the shape of the tree that evolves over time. And this feature is especially useful when you want to present your project at different stage. Like you can present your project when it will be built with like pretty young tree. Then you can also visualize the look of your project 15 years later and 30 to 40 years later with just one slider, and I will also show you that a bit later. So let's stick with our medium tree like that. And now, so here's the drag and drop. So you just basically drag and dropping asset from the library. A faster way to add vegetation is to use the multi-drop tool. So the multi-drop tool, you just simply click the asset in the library. Now this asset is under my mouse. And at each time I will click, Twinmotion will add the object to the project. And again, as you can see, take a random rotation, a random scale, and a slight color variation. This multi-drop tool works also with a multi-selection of objects. So for example, here I can select multiple objects, like those 3 trees over here. And what I will do is, again, just going to this side to show it better, I will simply click multiple times, and Twinmotion will randomly select at each time one object from my selection to add it to the project. So here I've created this small forest, this small park pretty quickly. Let me just maybe select this grass material and also apply it on my starting ground over here. So here we have this nice park that starts to look great. So this is a couple of ways to add vegetation inside Twinmotion, but there is more. Let's come now in the dock into the context tool. Here we have plenty of different tools. We start with the vegetation and paint tool. This tool will be dragging, as you can see here, there is a sentence that helps you to understand what you need to do. So drop a model to start painting it on a surface. So I'm just going to drag my Austrian pine and maybe also my Norwest spruce. Now that's done, I will select my my paint tool, sorry, just going to raise the diameter, and with my paint tool I will just going to start painting the tree directly on my project. And it creates basically a layer that you can see here. It's the green thing on the ground that is glowing. This layer, you can further edit it even after you've painted it. So for example, let's say that this small tree over here, I want it to be a bit bigger. I can select, it's the Norwest spruce, I can select it, go into the settings, and switch the age of this specific tree. So this one will be like the adult version. And this one, the Austrian pine, will be a bit smaller. I can just lower the age like that. Also, maybe there is too much density of the Norwest spruce, so I will just select back my Norwest spruce and just change the density with this density slider here. And now maybe I want to add some bushes or undergrowth on my forest. So let me come back to my library, now enter the bush folder, and I will simply drag and drop some assets inside my Dropbox. And those assets will be automatically scattered inside my forest. So here I've dragged a lot of them. Maybe there is too much, so we'll select all my bushes and just lower the density of all those bushes at once. So you can see it's pretty easy to paint a whole area, and I can keep painting it. So for example, here, if I click on any asset from this layer, I select it again. Or you can also select it directly through the scene graph. Again, here you really have all the hierarchy of your file. So I can retrieve, like here we have all the trees that I've added to the project, and at the bottom I have my vegetation paint layer. And again, since I've selected my vegetation paint layer, I can come back to my paint tool and just keep painting on my project. So that's a couple of ways to add vegetation. There is, again, a new way, another way to add some vegetation that will be helpful in this case. It's with the scatter tool. So let's come back to the context doc. Now I will enter the vegetation scatter tool. For this specific example, I'm going to use grass. And let's maybe use like some wild grass. Just dropping the grass in my Dropbox, I will select it. I will select my scatter tool, and I will simply click on this geometry to scatter the object present in my Dropbox on this specific geometry, on my grass geometry. As you can see here, you can just simply click on it, and it will just add the grass only on this specific part. So it's a quick way to vegetalize an area, just a basic geometry. And if I select my geometry, like you can see here, there was actually two different geometry. There is one for this part and one for this part. And I just scattered the grass over those two geometry. And of course, I can do the same with all the different parts. Like here, I can scatter some grass over here, some over here. And I can, just turn around all around my project and make sure to add some grass everywhere there should be some grasses. So it's a quick way to add vegetation only on a specific geometry. And also, if I want to add more things, so for example, let's add some tall grass, maybe a few flowers, maybe some dandelion. I can do the same thing here. I can select those three items and just scatter them just by clicking simply like that. Maybe there is too much density of like the white flowers, so I can also come back to my yarrows flowers, select the scatter remove tool and just remove some of them. Or I can also use just a basic eraser where you can customize the diameter to just remove some of them more precisely. So I think that start to looks great. Actually here we're not supposed to have that much tree in front of our building, so I'm just going to remove, to move some of them on the side like that. So projects start to look great. We have some nice vegetation, lighting is pretty cool, the parking lot has been populated. Maybe it's time to add some life. So let's again come back to the library, like everything directly is in the library inside Twinmotion. So when you install the application, there is a native library of thousands of objects and materials. And here I want to show you the characters. So the characters, we have different kind of characters. We have the animals. Let's maybe add some birds in the air. So here I've just placed it on the parking lot, and here using the gizmo I will simply just move them up in the sky. So we have a few birds flying around. Now let's check the characters. If you want to add a character, you can go to the animated human folder. And you can simply drag and drop this guy over here in our project. He's fully animated, he's in 3D, he's doing his stuff. If I drag and drop the same character multiple times, he will take a random color for his clothes. It's the first option that you can see in the dock, it's the clothes color. And you can also change that by simply clicking on it. After that, there is the pose. So by default is in idle pose, but you can switch to a speaking pose, a sitting pose, a lying pose, even a dancing pose. And even for each pose, there is a list of animations. So maybe he's doing this dance, maybe he's doing this dance, or this one. So let's make him speak. Maybe he's speaking to this woman over here. That is just not phoning, just like in idle state, just listening to him like that. So I can take the time to populate my project. There is plenty of different characters that you can see here inside the library. All those characters have the same set of animation, so you can just have plenty kind of characters. So for example, like we have this guy, like he's taking a picture of the project. But like if I want to populate a really large project, it could be time consuming by simply drag and dropping character one at a time like that. So what we have inside Twinmotion is also the groups folder. The groups folder will randomize the characters that are added at each time. So if I drag and drop this group of 2 people, we have like Fabrice and Amir. And if I drag and drop the same group a second time, now we have 2 other characters. We have Sophia and Aris. So it's a quick way to add more life to the project, and it's also randomized at each time, like the people. It randomizes completely the people that are added to the project. So I'm just adding a couple of people on our parking lot. Can add some people on the terrace of the project. Can even have some people's over here, maybe switch to a 2-person group. So that's for the group. I've added quite a few people, and again, all those people react in the same way. They are in 3D, they are animated. I can customize the color of them, I can customize their animation. In addition to that, we have some ready pose characters. Those ready pose characters are highly detailed 3D model, but they are in a static pose. So it's a photogrammetry. So for example, if you drag and drop this character, like you can see how detailed those characters are. But they are just a static image, static 3D model. So it's perfect when you are working on when you want to export some static images. It can of course also work for some video, but just like they are more realistic compared to the animated one. Next, so this is how you can quickly add some characters. Now let's make actually a move inside the project. To do that, I will come to the context doc again, and here we'll enter the path folder. Let's start with the character path. Here I simply have a tool, a basic spline tool. I will simply click on my tool. And here what I need to do is just basically click a few times in my project to create a basic spline. And once I release my tool, character will automatically start to walk on my path. And it's that simple to animate some characters inside Twinmotion. And again, here in the doc, I have the settings, so I can change the width of the path or the density of people on it. So let's come back to something more realistic for this part of the project. So this is working for the character, but it's worked the same way for different kind of objects. So if I come back to the path, we have the vehicle path. Again, here I will simply just create a shape pretty quickly. So we have some car driving in front of our project. Something like that. The car works in a similar way. So you have the number of lanes that you can customize, the offset between the lane. You can change the density of vehicles. Let's come back to one lane. Let's change a bit the density, and you can even play with the speed. So let's switch to something pretty slow, since there is a lot of people walking here and there. Finally, we also have a bicycle path. So here, I'm just going to create my bicycle path on the side over here. And here works exactly the same way. So we have some bicycle, we can customize density of people, the speed of them on the path. Finally, there is a fourth path that you can create with Twinmotion, which is the custom path. So for this example, what I'm going to do is just move a few people out of the way. Here, what I will do is create a custom path that is going from the street that will come up this part of my project and enter the courtyard over here. When you create a custom path, it plays by default a basic box with a few settings. Like here, the box is running at 18 kilometers by hours. And here, actually, what I want to do is animate one specific character going inside our project. So we'll come to the animated human. I will drag and drop simply one character into my drop box over here. So let's drag, for example, Chris. Chris is going a bit too fast, so we'll switch maybe to 3 kilometers per hour. I will click on Chris on his thumbnail over here. And in the pose, I'm just going to switch to Special and to Disanimation. So here I just make someone on a wheelchair going from the street level, going through the ramp and going inside the project. And you can use this custom path to animate one specific character like that, but also to animate like a plane flying in the air, just one specific car, just, yeah, whatever you want. So I think that's pretty much it for all the different tools. It was pretty fast to present. It was pretty quick to present all the tools, but it gives you a bit of an idea of how you can use the application. To finish, I want to mention that Twinmotion also have a user library. So basically, there is a native library that comes when you install the application. But you can also import your own object, create your own material, and save them directly inside the Twinmotion user library. And here I've created a couple of folders. Like here I have my own materials that I created myself with texture that I found online. Same thing for the object. So here I have a few objects that I found. And I save them so I can use them for future projects. In a similar way, I've imported a 360 image, a 360, a fake sky dome, where I've applied a texture of sky with some clouds. And I can just simply drag and drop now this 360 image on my project just to have like a different sky inside Twinmotion. So you can see just a basic texture. I can turn, it's a basic sphere that is surrounding my project. It's really just to give like my sky a different look, like you can see here. Now what I want to do to finish also is maybe change a bit the reflection that we have inside a window over here. So inside Twinmotion, what I will be using is a reflection probe. A reflection probe, basically how it works, it captures a 360 image of all the surrounding from this point in the space, and it affects this image, this 360 image, to all the reflective object that is inside its size. So just going to raise the size, and as you can see here, now I can see my sky, I can see my trees, I can see my parking lot. So now we have some nice reflection in front of our project. To finish, maybe it's time to create some media. So let me come to the media section inside Twinmotion. Inside Twinmotion, you can create 4 different types of media. You can create an image. To create an image, it's pretty simple. You just click on image, you click on create image to create, basically to place a camera. You can, of course, change the point of view of your camera. You can refresh the point of view. In the mode, there is plenty of camera settings. So for example, here, I can change the focal of my camera to have like something a bit more cinematic. maybe we can have like an aerial shot, something like that. There is plenty of different kind of settings here. I want just to quickly introduce you to the different settings that we have. Just going to switch my first camera back to 90 degrees. So here I created just 2 images, pretty fast. Now if I want to create an animation, a video, it's that simple. I just need to choose a first point of view, come to the video dock. I will click on the plus to create the first keyframe, which is the starting point of my animation. Then I simply move my camera inside my viewport and click on this small plus button here to create a second keyframe. And basically, Twinmotion creates automatically the animation between the 2 keyframes. Finally, with Twinmotion, you can also create a panorama. So the panorama is a 360 image of your project. You can also create a phasing. A phasing is not a media that you can export out of Twinmotion. It's basically like if you want to show the construction step of your project, like if you want to show different layers that appear one after the other. And then there is also the presenter file that allow you to export a standalone experience. It will basically export a .exe file that you can send to anyone. It doesn't require Twinmotion to launch. And this presenter file will be basically, let me actually show you. So I will just create my first presenter with a few images, with my video as well. To visualize my presenter, I can go up to my button over here and switch to presenter. This is the final look of your project. It's really when you want to share your project to like your customer, you can send him this presenter file and it will open your project in this full screen mode over here. And your client will have like the experience you have set up for him. You can see that like as a PowerPoint, a bit on steroids in real time. You set up camera, point of view, like here we have 2 different images. You have the video, and then your client can just basically play the animation, like the image will just play for a set amount of time, switch to the second image, and it will also play the video. If you have some phasing of the construction of your project, this will also play. And at any moment, your client can just pause the animation, turn the head around. It's really like a more immersive way to share your project. And finally, also Twinmotion is completely VR compatible. So if you have a VR headset, it's just one click to switch to VR. So just come over here, you click on VR and you click on this button. And the shortcut is F10. So with Twinmotion, we really wanted to focus again on bringing some pretty advanced tool, but making it really accessible. Like if you have a VR headset, it's a plug-and-play solution. Like you install Twinmotion, if the headset is plugged in, it's just one click to switch to VR. And in VR, there is plenty of different options. So of course, you can first navigate inside your project. You can teleport yourself all around. You have access to the whole material library. So while in VR, you can still design. You can still try different variations of your project. So you can think that, oh, the bricks looks good, but yeah, what does it look like with another kind of material? So you can just, in VR or in Twinmotion, you can just go to the concrete folder, for example, and just drag and drop a concrete and say, no, it's too gray, it's not warm enough, so let's try another one. Oh, maybe this one looks good, or maybe you want to see how it looks with a metal material, so you just go to the metal folder. And all of that is completely in real time. And all of that is completely also working in VR. So I think that's it for this quick presentation of Twinmotion. Now I will get back the floor to Melissa. We'll start to answer some questions. And yeah, Melissa, take it away.
That was great, Martin. That looks really good. Thanks a lot. I think it was a great webinar, and yeah, we hope you enjoyed it to the fullest. We tried to answer most of your questions in the chat, but I think it would be great to cover a few of them now, once again. So let's see. Which license of BricsCAD do I need to be able to export Datasmith? Well, as mentioned earlier, all customers with an active full commercial BricsCAD V21 Pro or higher license so BIM, Mechanical, or Ultimate, can claim a free perpetual Twinmotion license until the end of June 2021. How to claim a Twinmotion license? Well, I think it would be faster if I just show you how to find it. If you go to our official site, I'm already logged in, so you will have to already have a username and a password. Once you log in, you can then go to your My Account. In here, you can see a promo Twinmotion license. So if you click there, you will have all the information you need to in order to claim that license of Twinmotion. There was another question: is there a direct link between BricsCAD and Twinmotion? Not at the moment, but it is in our roadmap for the very near future. We'll definitely keep you updated on our progress. How do I get the plugin? Well, there's not really a built-in there's an actual built-in plugin, so no need to go and download an external plugin. You just type export and select the format from the list, as you saw in the previous demo. Where do I find documentation about BricsCAD Twinmotion export? Well, if you follow here by my screen, I would just go back to the website. So once again, this is the official website of Brixis, and if you go to Learn and then Help Documentation, it's going to take you to our Help site, and there you can just type Twinmotion. If you click Enter, you can see already the article, and there will be everything you need in order to help you with the exporting of your model to Twinmotion. Another question is there an importance to the Datasmith version listed in your export list? Earlier in my demo, when I did export, you saw it said Unreal Engine, I believe it was 4.25 or something like that. Well, that actually, it doesn't have an importance, and we thinking in the future to remove it, so there's no confusion. And we were looking to kind of use the same type of naming as other platforms such as Rhino. And yeah, I think these are the top questions that I wanted to address now from my end. Martin, please let us know if there's something else that you feel like you should cover.
So now let me answer a couple of questions more related to Twinmotion. So question that we have a lot during all our webinars is what's the specs we have on the machine we are running the demo on. So as you can see, it's pretty smooth. So first off, Twinmotion use mostly the graphic card, so your GPU, so you need to have a good graphic card. It's really the best way to use Twinmotion at its best. And here for this demo, we are running an RTX 2080 Ti. So it's quite an high-end GPU, but it's not one of the latest. Like, we have some more powerful one currently on the market, so it's definitely one of the most expensive one. Also, a question that we have is like, and that will interest also a lot of BricsCAD users, is does Twinmotion support 3D connection mouse? Unfortunately not for the moment, but it's on the roadmap. Twinmotion have a public roadmap where you can vote for features that you want. We'll put the link in the chat, so don't hesitate to go ahead and just have a look at what is planned, what is currently in development, and what is planned for the future, and don't hesitate to vote or submit new ideas there. Also, if people encounter any problem while you are working inside Twinmotion, you can also report a ticket on our support platform. We'll also place the link in the chat. And again, if you have any problem, don't hesitate to come to us and explain where the problem is. And finally, a couple of questions that we have a lot is also, can Twinmotion do VR? So as you may have saw in the presentation, yes, of course, Twinmotion is fully VR compatible. And here's the list of the VR headset that we support at the moment. So the HTC Vive, the HTC Vive Pro, the HTC Vive Cosmos, the Oculus Rift, and all Windows mixed reality headset. So this is all the VR headset that we currently support. and we are always planning on having more accessibility, more compatibility, and also keeping this VR functionality up to date and adding more features to it. So I think that's it for my question. Yeah, I will let you take it away.
Thanks for addressing some questions. We'll keep the chat open for a little longer and we'll answer your questions there. Meanwhile, you can learn more about Brixis and BricsCAD products by visiting us at Bricsys.com. Of course, for more information on Twinmotion, please visit their official website, unrealengine.com/Twinmotion. And as Melissa mentioned earlier, you can also visit our help center at help.bricsys.com and navigate with the keyword Twinmotion to find out more about using Twinmotion with BricsCAD. And by the way, for any technical and licensing related questions, you can also contact my colleague Ruben via the email that you can see right now on the screen. So Melissa, Martin, thanks so much for your great presentation and product demonstrations today. I think it's truly impressive to see how you can transform your BricsCAD model into a captivating environment with Twinmotion. So thank you once again. We'll keep the chat open for a little longer to answer your questions there, but feel free to reach out to us anytime. We are here for you. And thank you for joining us here today. Please stay safe, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and we hope to see you very soon. Goodbye.